Trudeau wants you to drink his cum. Don't do it.
Man, that it is tough to find a funnier moment than that from the entire thing. Oh, thanks also to Heather Gannon. Heather just signed up at joinpakman.com, number 29 today. Thank you, Heather. You're a true hero. A true hero. Hard to... Oh, hold on. Here's Lance. Let me see here. Join call. Hey, Lance?
Can you hear me?
Hey, yes. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull you in here. Oh, I don't know if I'm set up to get your video on. Yeah, I was not set up for a Discord video, so we'll be able to hear you, but my audience won't be able to see you.
That's okay. I can answer questions via the voice.
So, okay, so is it true that Trudeau is putting his semen in the water? Is that true?
I gotta be honest, David. One of the first times you pulled me on the show, I didn't know that would be the opening question. I wasn't ready for this one. I don't have my cards. No, to the best of my knowledge, that's not happening right now.
So, okay, so first of all, this video that you made, is this a compilation from several days?
Yeah, so the second half was me a couple weeks ago at an anti-vax rally that took place in the city. And then the first half of it is the trucker protest rally that just happened.
Okay, so do the truckers, they're opposed to mandates for going back and forth over the border. That's their main grievance?
Yeah, so just to be clear, only about 10% of truckers in Canada are unvaccinated, and that imposition goes both ways. I mean, there's only so much that if they got their demands of having all restrictions lifted, they would still have to contend with the U.S.-Canada border, of which they still require to be vaccinated to go over there. And also, there's an organization called the Canadian Trucker Alliance, or the CTA. They were anti-vaccine mandates, but they've come out emphatically saying they do not support this convoy or what is taking place.
Okay, so 90% of the truckers are vaccinated. Of the 10% that aren't, some of them want to end the mandates. Those have been at the crux of the protests.
Yeah, I don't know how much you've shown your audience, but one of the original key organizers is a guy who goes by the name of Pat King. He is someone they're trying to distance themselves from right now because unfortunately there are a lot of videos surface of him talking about how there's a great replacement taking place, how the superiority of the Anglo-Saxon bloodline has to be preserved and all that. That's where a lot of the this could have credible ties to the far right started coming from.
Yeah.
Also, for the GoFundMe itself that was organized, one of the two GoFundMe organizers, Tamara Litch, she is a well-known figure in Canada for being a part of the Separatist Party or the Wexit Party that is actually trying to get Alberta to cede from Canada and join the greater United States.
Got it. Okay. And so there's been anecdotal reporting about swastikas there, great replacement, white supremacist stuff, don't tread on me, yellow Jewish stars, all this different stuff. And the people who love the rally are saying that's like 0.0001%. Those people aren't even welcome there. It's unfair to focus on that. What do you think about the role of that stuff in this whole thing?
So I think it would be disingenuous to say that this is an overwhelmingly simply a far right rally or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is that you do have to look at how some of the key organizers and some of the members who are either the people collecting money or trying to organize events do have very strong and well documented ties to the far right. That's been widely reported on at this point. I would recommend people check out antihate.ca, which does a really good job of covering the far right in Canada. We have a Groyper movement in this country. Groypers, if you don't know, are Nick Fuentes kind of American nationalists.
Yep.
In Canada, that's called Canada First, and they're also very closely tied with this. The thing that some people should ask themselves is if people who fly swastikas and Confederate flags and don't step on SNEC and Keck flags are all comfortable and feel safe in amongst your rally, then it might be saying something, right? I don't think that they overwhelmingly represent the vast majority of people who are attending these. It's a very varied mix, right? But at that same rally that I attended in Vancouver, we did hear a speech about how the globalist elites are trying to control us and that there is a ruling class of bankers, things very, very mask off dog whistles are still kind of woven in there. So it's like anything else. It's grown to a size where if you have 2,000 or 3,000 people, or even at this point, 5,000 people were there on Saturday, apparently. Yes, a lot of people are just showing up because they are fed up with mandates. A lot of people are showing up because they're fed up with restrictions, whatever that is. And they aren't necessarily far right nationalists, but they are also people who are involved in those organizations who are there as well.
Now, This is a question from my audience. The people that the only thing they have is a Canadian flag, are it, are those most what's are they on a particular side? The people who just have a Canadian flag?
I mean, like, without having any scientific polling data in front of me, I can't really say. I would say the vast majority of them are people who just want an end to the restrictions.
Okay.
Yeah, and like, it's one of those things I try to explain to people. It doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right. I don't think anyone is having a great time, right? Like, no one is
No.
enjoying this. No one likes wearing masks. No one likes social distancing. No one likes not being able to hug their grandmothers or their
Right.
parents. Just a lot of people have kind of recognized that there is a set amount of things that if you do them, you will in turn get better results. Like, I think by ratio of our population, if we had the same levels of COVID death as America, we would have almost double the amount of people who have died in this country from COVID-19. So
Yeah.
there is something to be said about a lot of these measures that were put in place that have actually saved countless lives.
In terms of the law there, I just haven't been I know about the law to go to Canada and then to come back to the United States from Canada. But in terms of inside of Canada, is there federal law on who must be vaccinated? And then is there provincial law as well that varies?
So all the restrictions that they're trying to get the federal government to, I guess, take down are as actually measures that are put on by provincial health authorities. Each province in Canada has their own provincial health authority, and each provincial health authority has kind of dictated how each province should govern themselves. And in that respect, that's why some provinces did a lot better than other provinces based on what kind of measures or implementations they put in. So you might see, I don't know if you've watched the viral clip of a guy screaming at the truckers saying, there's nothing the federal government can do in this place. Now, in terms of federal employee requirements, that is true. They could lift any requirements that are necessary for federal employees, so they could have that one. The biggest problem I find, though, is that even if they were to lift the vaccine restriction for truckers coming into the country, that will not stop the U.S. Enforcement on the other end.
Right.
So it's like their demands right now is what I would kind of characterize as unreasonable, because they are one of two things. The official demands are all restrictions are lifted, including masks, vaccine restrictions, social distancing, everything, or the government, the democratically elected government effectively retires. It's one of those two.
What is an example of a province that's really strict versus one that's less strict?
The less strict I would put into Alberta for a category, and for an example of what happened there over the summer, Jason Kenney, the premier of Alberta, decided that he wanted to turn Alberta into a tourist destination.
Yeah.
So, my apologies. That was
what is that?
A Twitch sound. That was a Twitch sound.
Oh, okay. I all of a sudden wondered if that was on my end.
My apologies.
No,
but
no
anyways, so Jason Kenney, the premier of Alberta, decided he wanted to turn Alberta into a tourist destination over the summer. And so he did this huge campaign ad where it was basically like, we're lifting all restrictions, come to Alberta. We're not like the other provinces. You know, you can come and enjoy the party, enjoy the stampede, enjoy all this. And then their numbers got completely out of control as a direct result. Somewhere like somewhere like British Columbia had, I guess, what you could consider stronger restrictions, in that we have a limit on how many people you can gather with in a restaurant. It's a limit of 6 people. Sports events at certain times may be reduced to half the capacity. There is vaccine requirements for all restaurants, movie theaters, public areas like that. So that might be considered to be a little bit more restrictive. It's like anything else. It's to varying degrees of success.
So it's not sounding like oppressive communism, I guess.
Well, the thing is like we don't have a lockdown in this country. We haven't, I can't think of a province that is locked down. There is no lockdown. So people who are directly out there saying end the lockdowns, I was like, you won. You got exactly what you're asking for. There's no lockdowns in this country. I mean, there is what they consider to be, like, they're calling it apartheid, because they say that there's 2 tiers of citizens now, the vax and the unvaccinated, which, I mean, is always sometimes a fun thing trying to explain to them what actual apartheid is compared to you choosing not to want to be vaccinated for your own purposes. But
in terms of in terms of there have been these ideas floated of, like, if you're unvaccinated by choice, you might be triaged differently at hospitals that were, like, kind of considered in the United States. Is that conversation happening in Canada?
The closest we've come to that is, I believe, Quebec initially stated that they were going to start fining people who were unvaccinated as a measure to try and, I guess, put that money back into the public healthcare system.
Okay.
Because, I mean, the argument would be that they are becoming an undue burden on the public healthcare system, as the vast majority of people now who are being hospitalized for COVID-19 are unvaccinated. But I simply don't really ever want to give that kind of an argument merit, because to me, I don't see where it ends. Like, if someone is a smoker, should they not have access to public health care? If someone is,
It gets very complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, we've had that conversation as well. And, you know, for something like organ transplants, at least in the US, it's common that there are all sorts of different standards applied into who is likely to get the most use out of a donated organ. And so now COVID vaccination status is one of many things that's being considered. But when we're, to your point, it starts to become more about, do smokers get any treatment? Or if you eat more than a certain amount of, red meat, it starts to get very complex.
Although that does exist in Canada as well. There is a triage system for organ donation. So I believe if you were an alcoholic, or if you were a smoker, you probably won't be on the list for getting a donated organ for your liver or your lungs in that case.
Sure.
But there hasn't been a demonstrable example of people being refused public health care because they were unvaccinated.
Gotcha. Well, the video is both horrifying, informative, and hilarious. And so I think that in our space, that's a pretty good trio. You know, it's what I think a lot of people are going for.
Well, I appreciate it. And I'm happy to report that we didn't get COVID so far.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So have you had it at all?
I don't know. I'm like everyone else. I've gone through maybe like 6 or 7 times where I thought I've had it, and then I've done rapid tests, and then it comes back negative, and then a friend of mine has a positive contact, and I think but officially no.
Yeah, I've had phantom COVID symptoms for 2 years. I've had the longest phantom case of COVID maybe on the planet, but I've never actually had a positive test.
That's good, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'd take phantom COVID over real COVID any day. All right, Lance, thanks for getting on with us so quickly. We really enjoyed the video.
Oh, no, thanks for watching it. Thanks for showing everybody. I appreciate that too. Have a good one.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. All right, there is Lance. Lance explaining his video to us. And he was here thanks to you guys. You all suggested it, and we made it happen.